Yesterday, my daughter Grace was having one of those moments. Stress, anxiety, self-doubt, everything we know our girls struggle with. We talked through it, and I shared the very framework with her that I'm going to share with you today. It landed so much that she actually got off the phone with me and said to her roommate, if my mom dies, I'm going to have to go with her because I can't not be without her coaching. And I laugh about it, but that comment was so real because our daughters are dying for tools that's going to help them make sense of their stress and rebuild their confidence. So that's why today I am introducing you to two frameworks. It's not about eliminating struggle, but helping her to see that the struggle, that the things that they're dealing with are actually helping them to become who they are meant to be. And once you get these two frameworks, you're going to realize that it's not just for them, but it's for us too. Well, hey there, and welcome to the fourth episode in this series around that I'm calling The Model and the Mirror. Raising daughters in a world where we actually are struggling with our own self-worth, our own confidence, and our own belief that our body and our weight are not actually the things that make us valuable. If we've been chasing weight loss, if we've been chasing worthiness based on how we look, or believe that confidence comes when we get to a magic number on a scale, then our girls are going to kind of have no way to think differently than that. And so over the last few episodes, I really tried to lay the groundwork in helping us to become more self-aware, that our thoughts, our beliefs dictate our actions, and the impact that we have on our daughters will be a direct result of our beliefs, because we cannot teach what we don't know, what we don't live, what we don't believe. We can think that we're going to teach things that maybe we wish we were taught, that we don't really believe, because we just think that telling our girls and even our boys is going to make the difference. But at the end of the day, it isn't about that. It's about how we live, especially as our girls get older. As our girls get older, we become the model for them, not necessarily the direct teacher. I mean, they're being taught all over the place, right? All the different aspects of their life are teaching them things. We have to be the loudest voice in the room, which is what I say all the time. But it isn't just about what we say that gives us voice. It's about what we do. And we cannot do things if we don't believe in them. And we are trying so hard to give our girls a better outlook, a better life, a better understanding about themselves, to respect and love their bodies. But if we aren't there, well, then that makes it really hard for us to transfer those beliefs to our girls. So that's what this series is about, a journey of self-discovery, self-reflection, self-awareness throughout each one of these episodes. And on the last episode, y'all got to meet Grace, my oldest daughter, who has just a really incredible story in and of herself. One where she did not talk in school for many, many years. She identified as, hi, I'm Grace and I'm shy. And it was around the same time that I was really going through my own journey of self-loathing and feeling like I was not enough because of my weight. And as I continued to work on my own journey of self-discovery, self-awareness, and health, I got to see this incredible journey that she became on. And she's now just an epitome of confidence, self-love, self-respect. Yet yesterday, literally, it was like I knew I was recording this podcast, and then yesterday, all sorts of stuff hit the fan, and I thought, well, this is going to be great for my last episode. So this episode is going to be about actual strategies and frameworks that I have been teaching my kids over the years, that I've been teaching my clients over the years, that can give your daughters a sense of confidence despite the struggle. So my daughter Grace actually decided to change her whole trajectory of her life. When she was a senior in high school, she applied to colleges like most kids do, and she got into a few of the schools that she really liked. And there was one in particular that she decided she had to go to. And it was in upstate New York. And as much as a creative as she was, she loved to sing and dance and act. She felt like, I'm going to go to college and do the responsible thing. So she was going to school to be a communications major, maybe do something in production and television and reporting. She wasn't sure, but she felt like being behind the camera was going to be just fine for her. Well, what I didn't tell you, my clients all know this because I love that they went through this journey with me. I tell the story often. When Grace was 16 years old, she bought herself a tiara. We talked about that last week in our episode. And it was really interesting because she had said to me, this tiara is going to remind me of how valuable I am. And she also just really wanted to be a princess. But what was incredible was that 18 months after she literally declared her worth and said, I deserve a tiara, she went on to audition for and be cast as Belle in Beauty and the Beast in her High School Musical. And there's a song in that musical called A Change in Me. And when Grace was standing center stage singing that song, no change of heart, a change in me, it was such a moment. I could get emotional right now thinking about it because I knew right then and there that young woman was really, truly becoming the healthiest version of ourselves. She was changing, not her heart, not her soul, but there was a change in her as to who she knew she was. And after those performances, she had won all sorts of really incredible awards, ended up going to the National Jimmy Awards, where she got to perform on the Lion King stage. It was just truly a disruptive event that was life-changing for her. She literally reinvented herself after that. And yet she was already committed to going to the school for communications. And she knew that that was like the thing she should do. But there was something stirring in her. This change in her came about because of this incredible event that literally reinvented who she was and what she wanted. But she started school like every other freshman in college. And it took 2 weeks of being in school, going to classes, being a typical college kid. And she called me and she said, Mom, I'm not supposed to be here. I am supposed to be doing theater. I am supposed to be performing. I want to perform. And my husband and I just said, okay, let's do this. Now, I will not spare you the crazy details of what it is like to audition as a musical theater major. But in the top schools, about the top 20 schools in the nation, it is a 0.5 to 1% acceptance rate. I mean, like even Yale, I think is like 7%. So a 0.5% acceptance rate is kind of crazy. We spent the whole spring semester auditioning. She knew this is what she needed to do. She knew that being at her school was like a square peg in a round hole. And because she was reinvented, because she had such a change in her, she knew she had a new place to be. And so, long story short, she is now studying musical theater at a small conservatory in St. Louis. And really, truly, while things have been hard because it is a very difficult it's like a triple major. She is in class 8:30 to 5:30 every day, evenings. It's crazy. She knows that what she's doing is right. And that is a definition of confidence, not because you've met a goal. That, Grace isn't like, she doesn't have an agent. She's not performing on Broadway. She hasn't met her goals, but she knows what she's doing is right. And that is one of the very first frameworks that we have to understand about ourselves and about our daughters. When they are unsure, when they are not really clear on what they want and why they want it and who they are, then confidence is not possible, because confidence has to do truly with the security in knowing who you are and what you want, but most importantly, why you want it. So the conversations that I have had with Grace for so many years always had to do with the words, why? Why is that important to you? If she wanted to go to a party, okay, tell me why, right? Like we really unpacked those things. We also did really hard things. And I mentioned that in one of my previous episodes. Kids like mine, we grew up in an upper middle class family. They kind of got the things that they needed and wanted. They didn't really struggle. And if you remember my story about Grace, she had said like, Mom, when she was younger, she said, nothing bad's ever happened to me, so I can't write music. And so it really hit me in that idea that if we do not have productive struggle, if we do not have things that are hard, they don't have the opportunity to go through the fire and come out the other side changed. It sounds so cliche to talk about what diamonds go through to become a diamond, but they start off as coal and they go through the fire and come out a brilliant gem. We think about a caterpillar, that they go through this dark cocoon and they come out the other side, a transformed figure, but the same soul. And so that transformation, that change in them only comes about because of some sort of a disruptive event. And by teaching our girls around the concept that I call the purpose cycle, we are giving them tools to be able to handle it when the disruptive events come into their lives. And just yesterday, Grace had a big disruptive event. So let me take a step back with you for a second, because as I have been working with and coaching women for more than a decade on, yes, nutrition and health and strength and weight loss, but what I've really done is help them to go on a journey of self-discovery. Because if you've heard me say this once, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. We were not put on this earth to find the right diet. It's time to stop living like we were. We were put on this earth for a purpose, one uniquely curated just for us. And if we are not the healthiest versions of ourselves, we will not be able to actually serve our purpose for as long as possible. And I have women that will say to me, okay, tell me what that means. I don't know what my purpose is. I keep looking for it, but I don't know what it is. And that's where the purpose cycle comes into play, because I have realized over the years in my own journey of self-discovery, in my journey through an eating disorder, through infertility, through motherhood, through coaching thousands of people in a variety of different industries to see how change truly comes about, I realize that our purpose is not a destination that we need to get to. It is actually what we need to be doing in the moment. We are serving our purpose every day in every way. And this has just been such a mind-blowing concept for my girls, especially because we can give meaning and understanding to the disruptive events that end up happening to us. So let's talk about what the purpose cycle is. It's actually 4 phases. There's 4 parts to a purpose cycle. The first is called our calling. Our calling is like the assignment that we're in our life right now. It might be that we're a student. My daughter Grace is a student in a conservatory studying musical theater. That's her assignment. That's her calling right now. A few years ago, she was a student at a school where she just wasn't really feeling like she was supposed to be there, but she was like, that was her assignment at that moment, right? My assignment might have been a career that I have, or living as a mom of young kids. So the calling, the phase of our life that we're in right now can change, and it should. And you're in the space in your life where you're supposed to be right in that moment. And you are serving your purpose right in that moment. Because here's what we know about purpose. It is to serve others. No matter what exactly you are doing to serve your purpose, it is about impacting and serving others, hands down. So what are you doing in your calling, in your assignment right now that is serving others? That's the first phase, just being aware of that. And then the second phase is around our gifts, our talents, the skills that maybe we have accumulated over the years. And I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert. The purpose cycle is one that never ends and has started since we were born. We just keep going around it. So as we think about our gifts and our talents, we realize we've had years of developing experiences, developing beliefs, and having just truly God-given gifts that are helping us to serve our purpose during this calling or assignment in our life. So our calling and our gifts are the first 2 parts of this purpose cycle. And then the thing happens, the disruptive event. It could be something traumatic. It could be something really hard. It could also be something really amazing. It could be a slow drip of things that finally accumulate to that straw that breaks the camel's back. But there is a disruptive event that happens in all of our lives multiple times. And so when we think about this disruptive event, we're in our calling, We're serving others in one way, shape, or another, using our gifts to do so. And then a disruptive event comes. For Grace, it was that day on the stage singing A Change in Me, taking her bow, standing center stage with that very same tiara on her head that she had bought just 18 months before, saying that she was worthy and changing the whole trajectory of her life. That moment was a disruptive event. Think back to the different things that have happened to you. I know for me, having an eating disorder, I talk about that all the time. That was a massive disruptive event that ended up changing who I was. I decided to move my kids to Mexico. I told that story before. Talk about a productive struggle that could have teetered on toxic. It was hard. The hardest thing that me and the girls that we ever did. But wow, was it impactful. Having kids, disruptive event. These disruptive events happen to us all the time. And if we aren't aware, if we don't see it for what it is and what the potential it can have on our lives, we will let it derail us. We will let the stress and the anxiety take us down. I see it in women all the time. Because we are not aware of the purpose cycle, we see the disruptive event as the reason why we can't do XYZ. We can't take care of ourselves. We can't show up. We can't focus on the thing that we know we need to be doing. The disruptive event completely derails us. And for some of us, it can literally be the downfall that happens for years. And yet, the disruptive event for me, infertility, going for years, trying to have a family, believing that I was put on this earth to be a mom, and yet for more than 5 years being unable to achieve that goal. But when I look back on it, it's like another story for a whole nother day, a whole nother series. I know that those 5 years of the disruptive event made me different, reinvented me, made me a better mom, a better woman, gave me stories that allowed me to support and serve others that were going through something similar. Remember, your purpose is to serve others. And so as I look at that disruptive event, what always comes after a disruptive event, whether it was Grace on stage, whether it was my infertility, my eating disorder, us going to Mexico, that disruptive event reinvents us. We then go through this cocoon, the fire that reinvents us to the newest version of ourselves. Just like that song that Grace sang, a change of heart. No, but it was a change in her. Still the same person, the same soul, but now coming out of butterfly. And so when you think about the purpose cycle, and there's 4 stages to them. There's our calling, there's our gifts, there's a disruptive event, and then there's a reinvention. When Grace called me and said, right then and there, I am not supposed to be here, she was reinvented. She knew staying there in that calling, in that assignment was like a square peg in a round hole. That's when you know there's a new cycle. There's a new purpose cycle in front of you. And if you could look at disruptive events as an opportunity to be able to know that you are coming out a butterfly, and then you're going to have a new calling and use those gifts that you've learned to continue to serve your purpose at a deeper and deeper level. With every disruptive event, there's reinvention on the other side, and then a new calling. I remember very clearly when I was a national educational consultant, I was 7 years, I was working in schools all around the country, doing very impactful work around mindset shifts, behavior change, classroom management, turning around typically disenfranchised schools in all of our major cities around the country. It was some of the most impactful work I could ever imagine doing. I felt blessed. I felt like I was living my purpose. But I'm not doing that anymore. So was I really living my purpose then? Yes. I was going around a season of the purpose cycle where my calling was there. My gifts were there. I was serving people, but there was a disruptive event. I'll never forget it. My daughter, Grace, again, it's like so many stories revolve around Grace. She had a very traumatic, a disruptive event for her, actually, when she was about 14 years old. And I saw her fetal position on the couch crying about something that was happening in school. It was a very big deal. And I walked out of my house with my suitcase because I had a plane to catch. to go to another zip code, a zip code where kids were born that didn't have the types of schooling that my kids had. And I use that as my rationale. I'm leaving my kids to go help these kids because they happen to be born in a zip code that didn't give them what they needed. And yet I pictured my daughter in fetal position on the couch, and that was my disruptive event. I knew I needed to change. I was doing nutrition and working with women on the side, but I was still focused on my career, the thing I had been working for more than 20 years to build up. An international educator, an award-winning speaker, published author. And it was right then, on that trip, I sat at a Starbucks and was talking to my mother-in-law who was watching my daughter about this disruptive event that caused fetal position on the couch. And I said, I can't do this anymore. Right then and there, I wrote my letter of resignation, and I was in a new purpose cycle, a new calling, a new assignment where I knew I was here to do this work with this generation of people for my next round around the purpose cycle. Did it mean I wasn't doing my No, I was living my purpose. But I have a new calling and new gifts that I've picked up along the way to be able to do this. And so when Grace yesterday called me, she was in a complete and total chaotic moment. She was auditioning for the spring semester of shows, and she had never done this before. She was walking in as a sophomore, and freshmen didn't get to audition. And she had to be really vulnerable. And remember, the girl that identified as shy still has that in her. She had to stand up on stage by herself, audition in front of all of her peers, her classmates, her professors, and get notes right there telling her what she needs to do better. She had to wait until names came up to see who got called back. She felt vulnerable. She felt less. She felt not worthy. She felt like she was not good enough. All of the things kept telling her that. And she called me and I said, she's like, Mom, I can't do this. I can't do this as a career. I can't do this as a life. It's too much stress. It's too much anxiety. And I reminded her, Grace, you can do hard things, and you know that this is your calling. You know that the disruptive event that made you realize that this is what you're supposed to be doing is exactly what you need to be doing. But the hard thing, the stress, the anxiety, I said to her, this is a moment for you. This is a disruptive event for you. This is a moment where you can decide that the stress and anxiety are going to keep you from doing the thing you know you're supposed to be doing, or you can take that stress and anxiety and recognize it for what it is. The brain doesn't like new. We've talked about this over and over again, and this is a framework that goes right along with the purpose cycle. Every time we go around that cycle, we are now doing often a new calling. And that newness is very hard for our brain to wrap our heads around. The brain does not like new. It does not like unfamiliar. It likes to be comfortable. It likes to feel safe. And what Grace was doing, standing up on that stage, she had never done before, and it felt unsafe. It felt scary. It felt full of anxiety, and she didn't know how to reconcile it. But because she knew about the purpose cycle, because she knew she was entering into this new calling where she is where she's supposed to be, she knows that. That's where confidence is, knowing that what you're doing is right. I had a reminder of that confidence, reminder of the disruptive event that told her this is where she's supposed to be, and reminded her that the brain does not like new. When she did all of that auditioning for all of those schools, more than 40 schools she auditioned for, that was scary. That was hard. That was full of anxiety. When we moved to Mexico, didn't speak Spanish, had no idea what room the classrooms were in, that was hard. That was scary. That was new. I just had a reminder of these pieces of the brain not liking new. But that she is in a calling that is going to actually use her gifts to serve others. And when she was reminded that this is just new, and then the next time you do this, it's not going to be so unfamiliar, it's going to be okay. So I had her go and sit down, and I said to her, you just have that mean girl in your head telling you that you're not enough, telling you that you're not worthy, telling you that this is scary and you shouldn't do it. But that is not you. That is simply that mean girl that's been around since you were a little girl telling you that you're not enough. The same mean girl that we all have inside of us. It's time that you write this mean girl a letter. So she sat down. She got off the phone with me and she journaled. And she wrote a letter to the mean girl. the mean girl inside her head that's been bullying her, that's telling her she's not enough. And she went through and she actually wrote out all of the things that proved the mean girl wrong. All of the productive struggles that she's gone through, all the disruptive events that made her come out reinvented, all the new things that she's done over and over and over again in her life that has given her a new skill set, new talents, new skills, new gifts, and new purpose. One that keeps evolving and getting deeper. And she told the mean girl that. She called me 15 minutes later and she said, I wrote her the letter, Mom, and I get it. I don't want to listen to that mean girl. I can do this. I've done this before. I've done harder things before. I know this is new. I can do this. And that's when she got off the phone with me and she went to her roommate and she said, if my mom dies, I'm going to have to go with her because I'm going to need her to coach me. But it is not true. We can just give them the tools, not the rules, but tools to be able to see the stress, the anxiety, the confidence for what it is, and then own it and move past it. So just before I started recording this podcast, Grace called me and she said she got multiple callbacks and she is thrilled and ecstatic and like, I'm top of the world. And I said to her, oh, I love that. You got that external validation and that is amazing, but that is not what gives you worth. I want you to remember that you were good enough before someone told you that you were, that you know who you are, what you're doing and why you're doing it. You know where you are in the purpose cycle. So don't let anybody, whether their words are good or bad, have all the power. You know who you are. Tell the mean girl to go away and take the compliments for what they are. They're icing on the cake, but you, my dear, are the cake. Be the cake. Take the icing, but cake is really good without icing too. So the framework of the purpose cycle, those 4 stages, our calling, our gifts, the disruptive event that we know is going to happen. So maybe we embrace it. Maybe even if it's hard, we recognize it for what it is because it's like we know we're going to come out a gem or a butterfly or something different, more evolved, and more capable of getting deeper into our purpose of serving and impacting others. What an incredible concept to teach your daughter, to teach yourself to live and to process while it's happening, while you're in a disruptive event, while you feel like you're in a square peg in a round hole. You can outwardly talk about it with your kids so that they can start to see how we process it in the moment. So I hope these frameworks are helpful. I hope this series has been helpful. The mirror and the model is really about us going through the self-discovery of who we are, what we want, why we want it, so that we can impact the next generation. But these are things we've never been taught. These are things that we have to start to discover for ourselves. And the beautiful thing is we don't have to have it perfect or right in order for us to be impacting our kids. We can be on the journey with them, processing it together, learning from each other, and serving our purpose in deeper and deeper ways. So I go back to the fact that we were not put on this earth to find the right diet. It's time to stop living like we were. We were all put on this earth for a purpose, one uniquely curated just for us. And in order to be to serve our purpose for as long as possible, we have to be the healthiest version of ourselves. We need to be able to go around that purpose cycle over and over and over and over again. And the healthier we are, the longer we are alive, the longer we can serve a deep and meaningful purpose. I want to go around that purpose cycle as many times as God had planned for me. And my biggest fear is that one day when I die, I go up to heaven and God's like, you did good, but I had so much more planned for you because I didn't care for myself. I wasn't the healthiest version of myself. I ended up having to leave before all of my cycles were through. So let's show up for ourselves so we can show up for our daughters, so we can show up for the world. Let's go.